The hour of 6:30 having arrived, I'd like to call the regular Plan Commission meeting of City of Columbus to order. Mike, will you please call the roll?
Anfinson.
Here.
Stapleman.
Here.
Gajewski.
Here.
Monday.
Here.
Myers.
Here.
Albright.
Present.
Finkler. We have a quorum.
Great. All right. This meeting was posted in accordance with state law.
Yes, it was.
Agendas in your packets. I'll entertain a motion to approve or amend.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion?
Second.
Second. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? You've got our agenda. All right, minutes from last meeting from June 11th are in your packet. I'll entertain a motion to approve or amend.
I'd make a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. All right. We have a public comment period. Anybody here for public comments not related to a particular agenda item? Okay.
Mr. Tucker is here for the driveway waiver.
Okay.
So, otherwise, there's no one on the list.
No one online? Nobody entered anything into the record, Mike?
No, Brian is on Zoom, and he's for the CSM.
Okay. All right. So no, no public comments. All right, let's move on to item 3. Consider and take action regarding certified survey map for parcel 1114.1 located on Tower Drive, Lamps Landing. That's the CSM, right? Okay. All right, Mike, will you go ahead and introduce it?
Yeah, and Brian is here. I'll just do a quick summary, Brian, and then turn it over to you, and you can make whatever comments. This is the Tower Drive housing property that the city sold to Josh Lamps Landing LLC in May. That's when it closed. The idea here is to split the property into 3 parcels. The northern lot number 1 for a future apartment building. Lot number 2 for a condo plat of 8 twin homes or 4 twin buildings for 8 dwellings. And then lot 3 is or I guess outlot
Outlot,
1
yeah.
is 1.23 acres per the development agreement. At least 1 acre of land should be dedicated back to the city for parks. And the zoning is R4, and so it permits all the proposed land uses coming forward. You'll note the public sanitary sewer and water main easements through the property. Otherwise, our city engineers staff did a review, so there's some technical requests to amend it. So the recommendation is to approve with the condition that the review comments get addressed before adoption or before recording.
So the one.
Thanks, Mike.
The one
Any
acre,
discussion, questions?
the 1 acre lot, or the outlot 1, is that where the 1 acre park is gonna be along the river there?
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
And the creek does abut that southerly property line?
Yes.
Okay.
Second Word Creek.
Yep.
And let me, I'll just try to turn on Brian's microphone. There he goes. Are you there, Brian?
Barely.
Just barely. It's coming out of that.
Pretty much sums it up, Mike. I guess the only other thing I'll add is we did submit a site plan for lot to, just the other day. The architect is still working on the multifamily building, so, we'll submit that as a separate site plan here, hopefully by the end of the month.
But site plans are all staff review, right? And they're, this falls under,
Well, no, and I was trying to get a hold of Brian today. My understanding is, is Lot 2 is gonna be condo plat, or at least I was told that in the past, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, that will come to the plan commission
Right.
for approval, and we're planning on, we're hoping that, we'll have that at the plan commission at the August meeting.
okay.
But the apartment building will be,
Right, yeah, I guess what I was getting at was, both uses will end up falling under all of the guidelines for R4, so it's not gonna be, like planned development, rezoning or anything like that.
so the site plan for the apartment building, will be staff reviewed.
Other questions?
So that easement for the sanitary sewer, is that normal to go through there like that?
Yes,
That's existing, right?
no.
No, yeah.
Just an easement?
No, there's no easement on the property currently. They're looking, that's how they're looking at serving the apartment building in the 8 twin homes.
Got it. Okay.
It's
And I
good.
think then the fire department review or of like where hydrants and things go, that's going to come at a later point in the
With
process.
the condo plat.
Yeah.
For the twin homes, and then the apartment building, when they submit their site plan.
So with that easement, does that dictate that that needs to be green space?
No.
No, that can be under the building?
In the parking lot, it's really there for sanitary sewer and water mains, so
So the catch
it'll
basins
probably
and
be
Okay,
in a parking lot area.
okay.
And they're courting it. They're doing their site planning in tandem, in parallel together. So we're not seeing this at this time. This is just splitting up the land so the site plan condo plat can be developed.
And each site will be responsible for its own stormwater management at the time of,
And there's a
Site planning.
there's staff approves stormwater management plans, and those have been submitted today, I believe.
So that's where my question was gonna go, because I see that Jason made a note in regard to the wetland area. So when I look at this map, is that area represented on here, or am I just not seeing it?
You're not
Or-
seeing it.
Okay, because is that where the lands is? Is that where it says lands? Is that the wet area?
no, the word lands is just a terminology that's sort of the underlying parcel. It's unplatted lands at that time, and that's
Okay,
the,
so where is the wetland area?
It's a very skinny piece on the outlot number 1 that will become deeded back to the city as parkland dedication.
Oh, okay, so that's what's coming back to the city. So then is stormwater gonna be in that area then too?
No,
or-
it will not. It will be on lots 1 and 2.
Okay, so that's gonna be in addition to? Okay,
That will be part of the site planning and condo plat.
okay,
Well, it'll show up on the condo plat, but it will also, stormwater management permits are approved by staff.
okay.
So when the park is developed, potentially they might put some drainage in there? No?
Plans for that have not been discussed, so
Okay.
we just don't know.
okay. Any other questions? All right, then I will, this is recommend approval to council motion, correct? I'll entertain a motion for recommending approval to council.
I would make a motion to approve the CSM with the condition that the items in the review letter be addressed.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great, recommend approval.
All right. Brian, this will be on the next council meeting, which is the 21st, I believe. Yeah.
Okay,
All right, thanks, Brian. I'll be in touch
you.
early next week.
okay, thanks.
Yep, bye.
Good night.
Okay, next item, after I get my shuffle all shuffled, all right. Next item is consider and take action regarding a request for a waiver to the driveway ordinance for a second driveway at 353 West School Street. Mr. Gary Tucker. Mike, you want to go ahead and introduce this?
Sure. The amended driveway ordinance that was approved last year allows the Plan Commission to approve a waiver for driveways in residential areas. Right now, you're only allowed one driveway per parcel. However, the Plan Commission can approve a waiver. There isn't any standards in the ordinance about reasons why or whatever. It's just a judgment call for the Plan Commission. If you were to award a waiver tonight, it's strictly relegated to allowing for a second driveway. It doesn't come into width of the driveway, materials of the driveway, anything like that. That's already in code and would be handled through the permitting process. So your question tonight is purely on regarding should this property have a second driveway, and Mr. Tucker is here tonight.
So the driveway goes to the two double doors?
That's the original driveway, right?
Correct.
Yeah, that's the original driveway.
And that driveway was abandoned a few years ago, and when the new garage was put in on School Street, the new driveway was put in there, so that's where it went from 2 to 1, and now he's asking for that second driveway.
So, okay, I have a question. So this is the old driveway where the two doors are.
Correct.
So is it still open to drive a car in there? So there's no curb there, it hasn't been blocked off at all?
No, the curb and gutter is still there. The apron was never paved, the driveway was never paved.
Right.
Got a couple of pictures of what it looked like prior to our addition.
Sir,
Could you go up to the? Yes.
so I've got a couple pictures of the property prior to our remodel that we started beginning in November 2017. We have since obviously made some big improvements on the property, and this is one that we would like to complete to make the property more serviceable. Biggest reason is winter parking restrictions. We have 3 vehicles that we actively drive, pretty much weekly, daily to. So, with our new front driveway on School Street, we can fit 2 vehicles in there. It's very tight. One of my permits, is to make that driveway a little bit wider to allow more walking space in there. The waiver that I'm looking for is to park our 3rd vehicle in there to get it off the road for winter parking clearances and also to improve the look of the property on there.
So then you would have to actually make it look like a driveway with gravel and everything, right?
I'm actually planning on
No?
my,
Well, let's be
Okay.
sure here, the question before the Plan Commission is not the design of the driveway.
Okay.
It's purely the second driveway.
Okay.
Because the code requires that driveways be asphalt or.
Okay.
Or
Or gravel.
cement, so that's not
Oh,
a choice by
oh.
anyone here.
Oh, really? Oh,
Absolutely. So, everything should be regarding whether or not
Okay.
this property should have a second.
It's
Understood.
really a question of a driveway opening and whether that's detrimental to the
To the
public safety. yeah.
location. Yeah.
So the curb would have to be cut, you're gonna do that.
so
No,
currently
it's
the curb is already cut. It's got the old round ins on it. I've actually,
that's
if
the
you'd
old
I'd
driveway.
like to take a look at the picture from the Google Maps, pass that around. The curb and gutter is already cut. It's obviously of the old design. In my permit application, I am looking to replace that curb and gutter with the proper apron, proper concrete materials in there and then extend or I should say pour the concrete slab of 12 foot by 16 foot up to the double doors. So it would be a fully
This is
paved,
Google Maps.
proper driveway.
It has to meet all the driveway requirements.
Correct. And I would be replacing the sidewalk sections as well. I've got two blocks for sure that are cracked in that opening right in there that I would like to replace in there.
I can see that in the photo, yeah.
And I would like to bring this all up to current code.
And this is on a corner lot, right? So the
Yes.
one driveway will be on one street, the other one will be around. the
Correct,
Right.
yep.
Does the current
And that's
opening,
16 foot?
So the depth is 16 foot from the sidewalk to the house. The
What-
width would only be 12 foot.
12
What vehicle,
12 foot.
what model of vehicle?
I've got a little Colorado pickup truck. So it's a compact pickup truck.
I'm only asking because you can't have vehicles hanging out under the
Right,
sidewalk.
yep, and yeah, like I said, since we've had the parking restrictions, when we've had to, I've always been able to fit it on the sidewalk without, or in that original driveway opening without anything overhanging the sidewalk on it.
so are you actually moving the opening down to line up with the doors, or?
So in the picture on there, basically the driveway would start at the edge of the back of the house.
Yeah.
And then move towards the front of the house. So it would be just the 12-foot width on that. We would still be plenty clear enough away from the utilities that are right there, the gas line and the electrical box and stuff like that.
Right.
And then it would just come straight up to the sidewalk with the apron extending in that 12-foot section in there as well.
Just looks weird on the
If,
Google Maps.
if
Yes.
if the plan commission is considering approving this waiver, staff recommends you put some kind of sunset that the driveway needs to be constructed by, a deadline, and not have it hanging out there, in perpetuity, that they have some kind of sunset date on that. Staff recommends it. That's up to the plan commission.
Ideally, with my 2 permits that I've got, one of them with the widening of my driveway on School Street, I'm hoping to get that done before they come back through with all the road rebuild so that the apron can be adjusted accordingly on that driveway. And I'd love to have the concrete guys do both of these projects at the same time, so it'd be done this summer, ready for use this winter, so.
Quick question, Mike.
Yes.
This is the existing ordinance?
That,
That's
the packet, that was,
Yeah,
it was in the
right,
packet,
'cause
that
it-
was the amendment
it
to
amends-
There's a lot more
Yeah.
to the driveway ordinance.
So that's the ordinance we have today, we're not
Doing any
we're
of
not
that.
discussing that, or like, this is what the rule
I
is.
just attached so you could
Yep.
see the language giving the plan commission the authority to approve the waiver. Because it used to be city council approving the waiver, it's now plan commission.
Other questions, comments?
I have no issue with it, being that it's not two driveways on the same side of the house.
Correct.
I mean, I personally think it would look better for your
Yeah.
property, for the neighborhood, and reduce congestion, especially in the winter. And
Right.
with the winter parking.
Right.
Do your neighbors next door have any issues with it?
They
Or
haven't
behind
expressed
it?
anything with it at all.
Okay.
The driveway, as far as with the permits that I submitted into it, I'm far away from the property lines in there as far as where the apron will open up. So it shouldn't cause any issues with that at all.
Others? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve or deny.
I'll make a motion to approve the driveway permit, opening permit, whatever you call it. I can't find
No.
it on the agenda.
No.
It's a,
We're looking
approval
for
for
a
a s-
waiver to the ordinance
Yeah.
to allow a second driveway, that's the request.
With a time frame, perhaps.
And if you want to put time frame on that, that would be
I would,
recommended.
I was thinking, with the motion that I just said to Mike, 1 year from today's date.
Absolutely doable.
I know projects hit snakes
Yep,
sometimes, so.
they can, yep, but absolutely doable. I will make it happen.
Can we repeat that motion just so we have it for the
Yeah.
record?
Hold on. Make a motion to, here it is. approve the waiver to the driveway ordinance for a second driveway opening at 353 West School Street to be completed no later than July 9th, 2027.
Well done.
See, if I have it in front of me, I
Yeah,
can say
right.
it. I thought I had it, but I didn't.
I'll celebrate on my birthday next
There
year,
we
too.
go.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
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 Opposed? Approved.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Gary.
So just so you know, now we'll review the permit, driveway permit and go through that process.
Okay. If I was speaking with the contractors that are doing this, the street rebuild on there, regarding the one on School Street, I would like to see if we can expedite that one so I can get the concrete work done.
We'll do the best we can.
Okay. Very appreciate it.
All right, moving on to item 5. We have consider and discuss the draft zoning map and related mapping issues.
We're moving a little faster than I thought we would, so Sonia is on her way.
Oh, okay.
I told her, yeah, we won't be able to get through all this stuff until for sure 7. I know she's on her way. But I will bring up,
Do you want to go to 7?
Sonia's on for all 3 of these, right? 5, 6, and 7?
pretty much.
Okay.
Okay.
So I can just take a stab at this a little bit. Bring up the zoning map a little bit. Essentially, so now online, in the pack and everything, we have a draft zoning map. And essentially, the whole idea was to kind of take the existing zoning and match it up with something that was as close as possible to the new zoning districts. So, we've had multiple people looking at this, at Vanderwall and here at City Hall. So we think we caught, just about everything in there. There could be some stuff, so we're taking a look at those kinds of stuff. But this really starts to, when you go through the map, kind of paint a picture how that zoning map's gonna look. There's some unique things out there in the transition and kind of some items out there that, we're like, well, why is this zone this, that were just really out there? So, we've kind of made some adjustments there. So that's one of the things. If a property is going to be downzoned, we need to notify those property owners. So this downzone map identifies those properties.
Can you explain that term?
And downzone is like going from a more intensive use to a less intensive use. So going from light industrial zoning to residential 1 zoning would be a downzone. Going from, and I'm using our current zoning ones because that's what I remember in my head.
Sure.
Or going from residential 3 to residential 1 would be a down zone. So it's less intense use, so state law says that you need to, through our public hearing process notification, as we go to public hearing, we need to notify these people about the down zone so they can come, at least be aware and be able to address the plan commission. And so this map brings them up. And most of these are some pretty unique categories. But there's not a lot of them. If we kind of scroll through the map, a bunch of them are in the older parts of the city near downtown. And then there's some agricultural land. I think that's currently zoned industrial for some reason, that we're putting back to agricultural. The area behind McDonald's there, I gotta check
I forgot
check.
about this neck craning problem. If this is all presentation, can we sit out there so we can
Sure,
see the
sure, if you like.
screens?
If
I guess
you-
the trade-off there would be we'd have to hold questions until we can kind of be back
Yeah, yeah.
in our seats.
But
Nate looks pretty comfortable.
Looks good here.
Okay.
so, just know that's out there. We've identified those. And if we come across more as we review the maps and give it more scrutiny, we'll add those to there. But that's a big, a significant piece. But given how old the mapping is and the level of change, that's not a lot of parcels. This is her PowerPoint. Last time we talked about historic preservation and joint, we had the update. Today we're reviewing the zoning map and policy questions. So kind of like I said earlier, we're trying to preserve existing development patterns and kind of maintain consistency with the future land use map and the comprehensive plan. And correct some mapping inconsistencies and legacy errors. There's just some weird stuff out there. But the main kind of overall thing is to kind of maintain, preserve existing development patterns. And of course, we're trying to minimize down zoning that's out there. So, it was a 5-step process, directly translated existing zoning districts to the closest. So an R1 would go to SR1. Went parcel by parcel and kind of uncovered some issues and kind of went over that, reviewed with staff. An example, one of the things we adjusted in the land, in the code, there's that table of land uses per zoning category. Private golf courses came up in cultivation, so we made some adjustments in that land use table because there's just, the way we handle it currently in the code is a little bit differently, so we had to make that correction. So private golf courses are added to PR district, which I believe is recreation, I think.
Parks and Recreation.
Parks and Recreation, yeah. Anyways, that map is out there. So I think probably, we can make adjustments or address things as you find them. You may want to, you can kind of see this slide kind of looks at how we started with the existing zoning, looked at the future land use map, existing conditions, and then refined and ended up with the draft you see in your packet. So there's a definite process on this, and there was more than one person at Van de Wall working on this. David and I each took a look at it as well. And so we have our draft zoning map.
So I had a question. How do conditional uses, existing conditional use permits, how do they carry over?
They continue.
They do.
They continue, yep. And one of the big themes in all this is we're trying to, in that land use table, eliminate
The need.
eliminate conditional
Right.
uses as much as possible.
Right.
Because of the change in state law regarding the challenges in really using that as a tool, kind of how it was used in the past. Our code's been out of date on that for some time, so it's kind of best to kind of find a way to not utilize conditional uses and actually include like some kind of performance-based regulation on a consistent basis versus on a case-by-case, kind of really make it consistent. So that's kind of, and that's, I'm glad we're gonna have fewer conditional uses out there. It's a good move, but the ones that are out there will continue. Review of draft zoning districts as mapped. So key changes, complete set of new districts, public and quasi-public properties zoned institutional or parks and recreation. City Hall still remains in the downtown. Golf courses zoned parks and recreation, stormwater zoned institutional. There's multiple properties zoned agriculture out there, kind of a holding district for future development. So when a development comes in, they would apply for the zoning that they want to see. There's a couple of planned unit developments out there like Community Trails and Redbud. Those are the two I'm aware of. And there are some overlay districts we'll be using. Those will be coming in a little bit later. So new colors, new zoning districts.
So the SR1, SR2, that's just lot size that determines the difference?
Yeah, the SR1 is the larger one. I have to remember, I think it's 8,000 or 7,500 square feet, I think was the minimum.
It says 8,000.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it was 8 and 12. Is that?
well, that's
No,
the current,
yeah.
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 So it'd be 8 and, well, I don't want to go off my memory.
Sure. Okay.
I think you're right, though. And then we added the SR2
Here we
for
go.
the
It's
smaller
the next
lots.
slide. It's the next slide.
Yeah. Okay.
So 8,000 and larger for our SR1, and smaller lots, SR2,
Okay.
3 to 5,000.
Yeah.
And then you have mixed residential, twin home, duplex, and then MR2. The mixed residential is multifamily, things like that. So. But yeah, I think residential 1 currently is 12,000 square feet minimum. And for this day and age, it's, when you think about affordability, that comes into play. And then also when you think about trying to get a developer to develop some land in Columbus, they want, the more lots, the better for them. So if you have 8,000 or 12,000 square feet, that's fewer lots you can
Yeah.
build in for. So these lot sizes and the direction we're going is really, will be as modern as any community can be in zoning regarding housing and lot sizes and things like that. And I think a lot of communities are gonna say, hey, let's do what Columbus did, as we go through this.
Do you know by chance, on O'Brien Court, what size those lots are on average?
The ones closest to Park are around 7,500.
Okay.
And then when you get around the corner, they're a little bit larger than that. But yeah, so that gives you a pretty good feel,
Yeah.
but they're right around 7,500.
Decent.
So how, in like, if you have 8,000 square feet, how big of a lot is that? Is that like 100 by 75? What would that be in dimensions like that? some of us that are non-builders can understand.
60 by 125,
That's
60 by 125 is 7,500.
Okay, so 60 by 125? Okay, so it's 125 long, 60 wide.
Yep.
Okay,
And that's pretty close, those first 4, 5 homes on Bryan Court are about that size.
and they're bigger when you get around in back of the,
Yeah, there's some
Apartment.
more some of them are deeper, just
Yeah, a
the
little-
way the land lays
yeah,
out.
There's
little-
there's wedges in the corner.
Right.
Wedges in the corner and
And then,
there's a couple on the straightaway or I'd have to
Right.
do the math on it, but.
you can only get an integer number of lots out of any given length, so sometimes when you have, you didn't have enough room for 7, so you made 6 more robust ones, so.
Yeah.
I saw we made SR1, congratulations.
So this one kind of gives you the general categories with the new, mapping the new residential districts in a kind of really broad brush stroke. So SR2 is, smaller lots, that's the older part of town. And we have some mixed-use residential down around downtown. But there's quite a bit of MR1 out there too. The Brookside and Avalon area, that's kind of SR1. So that kind of gives you a good pattern of what's going on out there. So single family, here's an example. So single family home on Parkview Drive translates from R1 to SR1. And you can kind of see a map of that Brookside Lane area and kind of what the house represents. MR1, mixed residential, kind of older part of town, but the more historic type homes.
That one's right.
MR2, you're looking at a multifamily over on River Road. Mobile home district. And then the commercial and mixed-use districts, this I think is one of the big leaps. We had a B2 district and a B3. It really didn't differentiate except for lot size. It just created more work than was necessary, was like over zoning kind of in a way. So I'm happy to see that combined into one corridor mixed use category. And of course, we have our downtown mixed use district. So, and this is the theme on the commercial mixed use area, so. And it's broad strokes, so. Our interchange areas are corridor mixed use, that kind of stuff. So downtown is very similar to what it is today. Corridor mixed use is like the Dollar Tree. So you have West James Street area. And I know if we would have had the zoning code, we had I think we had a rezone in this area last year that we probably wouldn't have needed if we had the new code in place. So right now, we don't have business park zoning currently mapped. that was the category we were gonna potentially attach some design requirements in a business park standard, and so far, we haven't seen that, haven't received that direction from the planning commission to kind of go to that next step. We did that for downtown, but so far we haven't gone there for that. So currently, we kind of have that as a category, but once we get to the, closer to the end of this process, if we're not gonna utilize that, that probably will be removed. So this is a map of generally the business park areas and industrial areas.
So, yeah, I was actually just looking at that. So all that land over by Enerpac is considered agricultural? I guess I thought that was all technically business park these days, but it's not?
It is currently being farmed, so
That's
that's
true, yep.
kinda, currently,
Okay,
being, so it's kind of that holding category.
The
Okay.
Property taxes are much lower on farmland than
Oh,
they are on.
obviously, yeah,
so
I-
they would
yeah, I
wanna
understand
keep it
Even
that.
if
there.
it's zoned industrial, if it's being farmed, it would be assessed as agricultural.
Okay.
But our future land use map does have addressed the Interpack area as gateway commercial, I think is the category. And essentially, it's a mixed-use category. So that could be zoned industrial or that mixed-use or corridor commercial district. Could be either one of these in the new zoning code, depending, it just kind of, you'll probably, so we'll probably have more conversations on what this land is going to be zoned as, coming down in the future. But it's really a mixed-use piece. So-
Yeah, and the comp plan kind of, it doesn't dictate what it's gonna be, but it certainly gives strong guidance, right? That's kind of how that works out.
My apologies,
Hi.
there was an accident on Highway 16.
It wasn't you, was it?
It wasn't me.
Okay.
You know, I'll say.
There were a lot of cops though, so hopefully everyone's okay.
So anyways, we've been going over your excellent PowerPoint, so going over that. So,
we're already halfway through.
Good.
What page you on, Mike?
so we are on light industrial. I'm not looking at the combined packet, it's slide 23 of 40,
Page 43. You're on the back.
page 43. So we were just talking, Shelley had a question about the agricultural holding areas in the gateway area. And our map currently has its own, proposed map has its own agriculture.
Yeah, and I know that it's being farmed, I didn't make that connection, because every time I think about it, I consider it, because we have, because Enerpac and it was being set aside for industrial, so. I forgot about the whole agricultural thing.
Mike, I did have a question. I've noticed on a few of these, where there's an asterisk in the new code where we've created a category, but we're not actually putting any of those on the map, right? All of them up till this one made sense to me. I was a little curious about, it looks like everything that's industrial in town is going to be zoned as the new light industrial category. Even though I'm presuming there are a few that would fit the heavy industrial. Are we going, are those going to be down zonings, and then it's expected that,
We currently have no properties that are zoned heavy industrial currently.
really?
Right. I think when we were going through parcel by parcel, we found 2 that were potentially candidates
Okay.
to zone for heavy industrial. One would have been the quarry. There's an ongoing mining site.
Michael's
Yeah,
on Highway 60.
okay.
Yeah, Yeah, so Michael's, the ongoing quarry mining activity could have been zoned HI, high industrial, heavy industrial. And the reason that we did not basically upzone it, I think, was to balance that consistency with the comprehensive plan, where the comprehensive plan didn't anticipate, a heavier use there. So it sort of results in that use being non-conforming. It doesn't conform with the light industrial, but that just means that it can't expand. The
Right.
use can continue.
Right.
What was the other one?
What was the other one? I think it was it downtown? Not Vita Plus,
Was it
by the
from?
rail.
Oh, downtown.
Somewhere along the rail corridor. Yeah.
I'm surprised that there's nothing zoned I2
Yeah.
currently.
Right.
Okay, so,
Right.
all right, well, that,
And then the other asterisk was that intensive outdoor activity
Yeah.
category.
Yeah.
That we're trying to hold for data centers and
Mm-hmm.
other quarries, junkyards, the amusement parks, those kinds of things.
racetracks, launching pads. Okay. Be prepared, right? All right.
So, yeah, Ag District applies, Ag Land. We currently call, the current district is Rural Development. So we're calling it Ag District now.
It's mostly a holding zone for future development, and I think one of the big changes from the current zoning map to the proposed, we tried to carry forward anything RD that is now stays in ag, but there are a handful of large tracts of land that we're proposing to downzone into the ag district compared to what they are today. So there's more green on the proposed map than you have now. We'll explain some of those.
Institutional, so that's like Zion and schools, that, things like that. Parks and Recreation. So Fireman's Park, Washington Park.
The golf courses are also zoned in Park and Rec. So Kestrel Ridge and the Columbus Country Club.
These are the overlay districts. So we're, like, I think one of the key concepts in this new zoning code is we had a mixed-use overlay, and instead of using an overlay, we've just moved mixed use into the existing categories to make it easier to communicate, permit, everything. And it just, I think in years past, mixed use was kind of like a.
Catch-all.
Well, it wasn't thought of as a way to do development. It was like a special situation, so you did it as an overlay. And today, the thought processes are just, let's do it as a matter of course of how we do our development. So we removed that.
So I have a question in regards to the new environmental corridor overlay, protection of national resources, floodplain. So what you're saying is our map is gonna be set up, with our agriculture, industrial, and then the second level, and I'm just trying to understand, the second level of that map would actually constitute what would be technically in a floodplain, wetland area, that type of thing? Is that what that means?
Yep. When you described it as a second layer, that's exactly right. It'll go up on top of
Right.
the colors on here now, and it'll show up for viewers as like a hatched layer in the GIS.
So do you have a map of that?
Not yet.
No.
So that's the next step for the EC overlay. I wanted to make sure that we had all this correct first, but examples of where that would go would be over, maybe an easy example, we might put it over a stormwater facility. If a stormwater detention pond is on an outlet, that might be zoned institutional because it is maybe city-owned. Put the corridor on top of it, and that adds extra protection or sort of identifies the fact that that can't be developed for something else. Another example, any DNR mapped DNR mapped wetlands, FEMA floodplains, steep slopes drainage ways.
So that was actually my question about Enerpac. So that, all that land is agricultural. So will that agricultural land have an overlay over there? Because don't they retain water and stuff, or am I remembering that wrong?
There are stormwater ponds. over
Okay, so they have stormwater ponds, so they probably dealt with any kind of potential flooding that would have been in the field or whatever when they put that in. Okay, so then to answer my question, that in that scenario, they probably would not have an overlay in that area.
Probably not unless there's a DNR mapped wetland. If it's just a low area and it's a little
Right.
bit wetter, that wouldn't constitute.
Thanks.
Yeah, and overlay districts don't follow property lines, whereas zoning boundaries do.
Exactly, that's a good distinction.
Well, it's confusing to me because, okay, so I live on East Prairie Street, but down the block, they're next to that stream and they're by DPW, and that's technically in a floodplain, right? Yeah, because
you
I know
have to
that,
abide by
because those
both,
houses
yeah.
have to have flood insurance.
You have to abide by both zoning regs, right? If it's a single-family lot, you can do X, Y, Z according to single-family lot, but there might be additional restrictions because of the overlay.
Okay, so if one of those houses ever goes away, can they put in another house on that same lot? Or would that, something change with that because of the fact that it's considered floodplain or whatever? If there is a house there, a house can go back, right? If something happens to the original building?
That's a lot of different scenarios you covered
Okay.
right there.
All right, I'm just an inquiring mind, I have, it's,
Yeah, that all those different scenarios can change on what can happen. I'm trying to remember, I think our code currently says that if a property is destroyed by over 50% of its value, it then has to conform. I believe that's what it currently says. We haven't written that statement, I believe, in our current code, or maybe we have. On North Water Street there, let's say you just had a vacant, to make it easy, let's say there's a vacant lot. That parts of those lots, the back half, are in a floodway, which you can't build anything in. And then the front half or so, all the way to the opposite curb is floodplain, so then you'd have to, actually, probably those couldn't be developed, because even if you elevate it, you'd have to do a lot of work, because you also have to connect and fill to create a path, a connection to outside the floodplain. Well, the road is in the floodplain, so you can't fill to 2 feet above the floodplain, if that makes sense.
You did great, Mike.
Did I do great? All right.
Given the fact that, yes, there's a lot of different scenarios.
But bottom line is that part of town, we actually, in 2024, when I first started here, there was someone who wanted to build on one of those lots and was adamant on doing that and was not able to do
Right.
that.
which is why I'm inquiring as to what would have caused that, so, okay, so,
And I
yeah,
think-
that's interesting.
And I think neighboring property owners purchased the lot.
Yes. And put a fence in. I would have liked that. For garden. Trust me, I thought
Still
about
for
it.
sale.
No, it's fenced in now.
But yeah, those are challenging lots to develop.
So these other overlay districts, wastewater treatment and wellhead, you already have those. They don't come up a lot because they're really, limited to when new development is being considered on a lot that's within one of these overlay areas, and that's not often the case. So wellhead protection, for example, you have a city well, there's a radius that goes out around that well, and then in order to protect the well and groundwater, certain uses aren't allowed, like gas or whatever it might be, but single-family homes are, and usually that whole area is already developed with single-family homes, so it doesn't come up a lot, but you already have those. Plan development is an overlay in this draft zoning code, and it is addressed on the draft zoning map in two places. I think we have examples of these in the slides, but Redbud Trail is one. And there's a base zoning district under that, single-family residential. And then the other one is Ottery Brothers Truck Wash,
That's right, that's the third one, because the other one is
Yep.
community trails.
and that's this.
Yeah.
So for community trails, we did not map it as a plan development. We mapped it as standard zoning, and that's a staff-level proposed option, where we're basically saying it reverts because it has not been developed. I think it's been platted, but the lots are vacant.
Some of them have been built,
Okay.
so a lot of them have not.
Okay. But the records really aren't clear as to what the PD actually even did. And the way that it's zoned under the proposed zoning would theoretically allow the land uses that were contemplated.
So in some of these, like, community trails, that one, the way it was mapped, it wasn't mapped historically as a planned unit development. And so became aware of that as a PUD by accident. Same with Ottery, I was doing some other work, I'm like, came across a document, like, oh, wait a minute. So, we've done found some updates that way.
Yeah. So you only have effectively two, and that's unusual. I've been in Johnson Creek a lot lately. Every single agenda that we're on has a plan development. That's indicative of something wrong maybe with their overall code, that we're using the plan development so often. But I just found that interesting that we didn't have a lot of customized zoning districts here.
What's community trails?
West Sturgis Drive.
Oh, okay.
Here, I can
Yeah.
show on this map over here. It's probably easy.
That development that's across from where the current utility building is.
Okay.
Over here, behind the farmhouse. Except the 151.
Oh, yeah, all right.
So these roads are platted all these roads are platted, but a lot of the development's never happened. I think
But they're
that's
kind
it.
of starting on that northern part.
Sturgis,
Okay.
yeah.
Never heard of it.
I think that goes back to, one of the challenges of the housing bubble is the community trails plat.
So why would Ottery Brothers be in that?
I don't know the history on that, but we had a development agreement with them, and I can't remember all the details.
That was when we could have just reverted to a standard CMU corridor mixed-use zoning district, but because we weren't as confident in why, we left the PUD on top.
Interesting, okay.
Yeah, I can't remember either. I'm trying to, that spot.
Is it because of access? Because they're kind of in between the travel center and, what's that other?
Duffy.
Duffy, thank you. Is it like an access thing? Maybe the PUD went around?
We're not sure, we're not sure,
A rule or something?
we're not sure.
Okay.
Again, founded by accident, so.
So
interesting.
is that advantageous to do that or no? Because it kind of sounds to me like it's not, because it's kind of a way to, I don't know, make things fit or something, is kind of what I got out of what your comment was in far as.
Yeah, plan
far as-
development, I would say, is trending more out of favor generally.
Okay.
A lot of communities are trying to get away from plan development. Madison just rezoned like 4,000 homes from plan development to standard zoning a week ago or something.
Okay.
No, it's just complicated.
Well, and when I did research on it way back when, I kind of got the impression too that it wasn't necessarily advantageous or a good thing to do, so.
I think the concept of applying to unit development is let's put a bunch of creative thought into it to create a better product outside of the current zoning rules. And today's thinking, it's like, well, let's build that creative process right into the standard code and make it easier. So, it's kind of trying to make everything easier for everybody, for developers, and easier to attract housing developments and those types of things.
So do you want me to go through these? slides?
Sure.
So the kind of the following slides are the main areas of change where it wasn't a direct translation from RD to AG, for example. So in the beginning of the PowerPoint here that I missed, one of the bullet points was emphasizing that we wanted to, for the most part, preserve existing property rights and not downzone too much. So there are a lot of examples where there are actually upzone opportunities, where there are increases in, for example, development intensity that could happen. And one example is we're moving to a smaller lot size. So if you have your existing single-family district requires 12,500 square feet of space, but we have a zoning district that allows 8,000 square feet as a minimum, that's technically an upzone because you're allowing more usable space. Or a reduced setback, for example, if you've got a 30-foot front yard and it's going to 25. Another example would be maybe corridor mixed use. That zoning district as a whole is an upzone for any properties that are currently zoned business. Along West James Street, for example, they're going to see in the new zoning code additional uses that are available in that CMU zoning district. A down zone, on the other hand, reduces available development options on the property and might remove a permitted use. So, for example, if they're zoned light industrial today and we zone to ag, that's taking away quite a lot of development potential in terms of industrial land use, because under ag, you're more confined. So the approach overall was to minimize downzoning, but the slides that we have here pull out the ones that are proposed and why. So go ahead. So a couple of specific upzoning examples. Kestrel Ridge Golf Course, portions currently zoned C for conservancy. The golf course overall moves to Park and Rec. One of the reasons to do that is with golf courses, a lot of times there's an associated clubhouse. So this just clarifies, and we put clubhouse in that Park and Rec zoning district, and that commercial use can happen concurrently. Whereas if you were in ag or conservancy, that wouldn't be as clear or as allowable. We talked about the SR1 zoning example.
So clubhouse can include a restaurant and those kinds of things,
Yeah.
broadly
Yeah.
thinking.
Question on the SR1. So if you have a lot that's 16,000 square feet, could you split that in
Yeah.
two, even if there's a residential housing unit
As
on
long
it?
as both lots would meet the requirements, the minimum
Okay.
size and setbacks.
Okay.
Yep. So to go through the few examples of areas that are identified for potential downzoning. As part of the process as well, we do have in the scope where a letter is drafted and mailed to these, this handful of properties so that they're aware of the proposed downzone, offer an opportunity to discuss with staff, appear at meeting if there are questions, and to walk through those issues. So here are the potential downzone properties. This is owned by Hain Family Trust. It's behind the cemetery. It's currently zoned for light industrial, but it is vacant. It can't really be accessed currently. And the future land use map actually calls for this to be residential. So by proposing to go to ag, it more fits that idea of a holding zone where we don't have a preemptive approved zoning district. A lot of times when you're looking at a rezone on a plan commission agenda, that's a legislative decision where you're saying this land is ready to be rezoned, and we're going to make that policy call, and we're going to say it's appropriate timing to extend utilities, or, you know, we can review that it's consistent with the future land use map. But in a lot of these cases, if you have it preemptively zoned, you lose that opportunity to have that policy discussion, especially when it's not matched to the future land use map, like in this case where it's planned for residential. So it's vacant, we're not making a use non-conforming, but it is removing the ability to by right develop industrial use on that property.
And that's out by the cemetery?
Mm-hmm.
Similar situation here, the exact same attributes, zoned light industrial, vacant land. Future land use map calls for residential and open space, proposing to do the ag holding district. When someone comes in with a development, they would ask for zoning that matches the future land use map and could develop at that time. In this case, this was an example of going through parcel by parcel and looking for mismatches. So on one of the earlier slides, there were those photos of like, we used the existing land use and aerial, and we looked through everything just to see if things matched. And in this case, you've got 3 single-family residential properties on Chapel Street that are actually zoned light industrial. So just right-sizing that to the MR1. It's a down zone, but it's unlikely that, you know, even if they kept the LI zoning, they couldn't really develop anything there because they wouldn't be able to match, you know, building setbacks and things like that because it's a residential lot. See this area, West James, a lot of existing land uses out there, but they're really better fit in the CMU, but they're zoned light industrial. So again, probably won't make any of these land uses non-conforming. You might remember what those specific parcels include, but downzoning to CMU.
Anytime Fitness.
Anytime
The
Fitness.
hotel.
Yeah, hotel.
Good examples, yeah.
And I think that weird shaped parcel is actually probably the stormwater management.
It's vacant, and a lot of it is wetland. It goes down a hill.
Yeah.
So a lot of that between 151.
Leads right up to the on-ramp, isn't it?
Yeah, that area most adjacent to the on-ramp is a lot of wetlands in there. So there's pretty much behind Marshfield Clinic, McDonald's area, that's the high ground.
It's a significant slope back there too, isn't it? From Marshfield down to the roadway and then back up to the on-ramp.
Yeah, there's a lot of that's not buildable.
Right.
So this one was the most complicated. We could have gone in a number of different directions here. So this is downtown. The block, you know, right adjacent to the word north, that's where City Hall is. So that's the block that we're looking at. And right over here to the west are some existing single-family homes. I think there are 3 or 4 parcels there. They are currently zoned central business. But the future land use map calls for residential, and the existing use is residential. So we're proposing to downzone from central business. We're not putting them in the new DMU, and we're proposing to right size and match the residential. If they stayed in DMU, they would become a non-conforming use. And that was the biggest concern, because if you want to add an addition or do a garage, you're gonna be subject to the DMU land use standards and setbacks. So additions might be limited, and that's challenging for an existing single-family home that wants to continue being a single-family home. That's really the primary reason, but it does take away some potential development ability if someone were to sell those and consolidate into, you know, a DMU type project. But with the future land use map being residential, this seemed like the right way to go. I think it's very similar for the parcels to the south at Spring and Harrison, so 3 parcels there. The other one was that whole block on North Ludington, and those are all really single-family homes, so similar analysis, but just worth pointing out because it's more of a dramatic sort of pattern of like taking that out of the DMU district, which otherwise DMU covers the block to the south of that, or the left on the screen, from my perspective, and the rest to the north is not DMU. So it's that transition block, basically, and we took it towards single family. Last one, government-owned parcels. Just right-sizing this to institutional land use. They're either city uses or utility. Nothing too controversial there. So at the earlier point of discussion, the zoning map covers all of the new districts, but there are some that are not mapped yet. SR2 is that really smaller lot, single family. Maybe someone in a new greenfield development might plat smaller lots with an alley-loaded style, so that would be SR2. It's not on here yet because it doesn't match any development. Business park, this is a policy question. I'm still not seeing a need to put the business park zoning district in the zoning code at all. And that's just been kind of something that we've been keeping our eye on. You have, what is it now, gateway overlay?
Gateway District. In
Gateway
Comp Plan.
district. And I think that calls for a higher design standard, and there are some circles over your two interchanges.
I think Gateway, Gateway, that area, there's some deed restrictions requirements, I know, in the Interpac area, south of 73. But the comprehensive plan talks about, in both, like the Gateway District, high quality development. Well, what does that mean? And so one way to do that would be to consider design standards, but it's a fairly vague description of what the vision is there. So what we're hearing from you guys right now is not to pursue that, but if you want to see that, to have a category that has design standards in it, we would need to hear that from you.
We discussed heavy industrial. Intensive outdoor activity is reserved for those higher impact uses. That's where that data center land use is. Environmental corridor overlay, fully intend to use that, it's just not mapped yet. So, the overall questions, feedback on anything, any of the down zones, questions on that. And then really this question is the BP zoning district and whether that, you feel that that's needed or not.
Did you get have we got a description or standards for the BP district written?
The district itself is in part 1, so the land uses are listed, the district exists with the dimensions like setbacks, but the design standards would be in part 2, so I haven't reviewed those yet.
Okay.
I would say the new light industrial zoning district is probably also a step up compared to what you have today, where there are more specific requirements for things like outdoor storage, screening. You're going to have higher standards across the board. I think for something like landscaping or lighting, building materials are going to be covered. So that's some of the thinking of why business park might not be necessary. So you're already, if you're going to use light industrial, that's already a pretty good standard in terms of quality building design. But if you saw the need for maybe future development, if you wanted to have sort of a higher tech component or a specific business park or a interchange that you were particularly concerned about having higher design standards even than that, you might pursue that.
Without it, we would have no ability to invoke it if we thought there was an area that
Right.
that warranted it.
Right.
But sort of in current context, it looks superfluous.
Yep.
Okay. Do we have to decide now?
Nope.
Great.
Yeah, I think that's something that needs to be considered.
But I guess the homework would be for, as we get to part 2, review that,
The
kind
design
of
standards, yeah.
think about how that kind of development would look compared to the other 2 that you mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
and figure out if
And so we've discussed design standards for downtown.
yeah.
We wouldn't probably approach the standards they would be very different from downtown. But there could be some common things related to materials or roof lines or things like that.
I have a quick question, I want to clarify. So we have higher design standards for light industrial. And if we choose to do business park, then we could increase those, what the purpose for doing that would be to increase the standards even more, correct? Is that's essentially what we're looking at? Do we want to, if another company comes in over by Enerpac, do we want them to be guided by the light industrial, or do we want them to be kind of dictated by business park? Whatever.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and I'm like trying to think through the cause and effect, or, the possible unanticipated effects of different regulations. I'm familiar with the business park in Sun Prairie by the Bristol Street exit. It's Wilburn Road and the business park just behind there. And I know there's some pretty strict regulations for new businesses in there, or, for any construction in there, as far as landscaping, appearance of building, must have brick, that kind of stuff. And it is it's a nicer looking business park, compared to, if you look at, say, Commercial Drive, and was it Robbins Road, back behind our Pick and Save. It's a very functional business park, not very glamorous for businesses, and, so these rules might attract different types of businesses, and it might make it more presentable for a bigger employer, but it could also, if you have too much that's regulated, you could be chasing away businesses that can't make a financial case when there's these restrictions. So, in my mind, I'm thinking about, well, where is there undeveloped land? You look over on Commerce Drive, and the owners of that property would probably have a bit of an opinion as to a restriction you might put on it, and without knowing who might be coming in. I know that at one point there was Menzel, a towing business, I think, that wanted to expand some manufacturing out there. So it is a little tricky when you have some of these developments that are partially developed, and if we put in some rules, it might help improve the quality of what goes in later, but it could also create a bit of strangeness if you have some businesses that were really not built to a very high standard sprinkled into those lots already. So it's a tricky question.
So my point on this is, I feel like when I think of a business park, I think of not necessarily manufacturing. I think of businesses, like offices, and more, maybe not so much industrial. So I don't know, I guess if we wanted to have office complexes, I could see where the business plan would be better, but I agree with you that if we make higher demands on an industrial company wanting to come in, that might impede them being able to afford or to want to, come here.
Yeah, I think one of the things I'll contemplate, as the sort of next month ensues, is it better to have that tool in the toolbox and trust our future selves and future governance here to not overuse it and potentially impede development? Or is it better to sort of leave it off the table so that nobody's tempted to use it in a improper manner, but perhaps short ourselves of the opportunity?
But it's also as these are all really good points in summarizing the issue well. There's no harm in putting it in the zoning code for the most part, unless someone feels that it would be
I think the harm is potentially
Yeah,
overuse, right?
But that could be a good point for your comprehensive planning process, because that's how you implement that zoning district, is by,
And if we
Yeah.
update our land use chapter next year to comply with state statutes, that's a time where we could create a more specific comprehensive plan that addresses where specific design standards should be applied from a big picture versus a half-developed Commerce Drive, which would be a hodgepodge, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. And
Because our comp plan is very, very general for the most part.
well, and I know, obviously, you know, I'm very familiar with Commerce Drive. I saw what the plans were when it was developed, and the plans didn't reflect what happened with the economy and consumer spending. I mean, it was all supposed to be like malls and hotels and restaurants. It was not, it didn't pan out. Conversely, my day job now, I work in Sun Prairie in a business on Innovation Way. And it's, I don't know if you know that well, it's Reiner Road, so it's just south of Cabela's. It's a beautiful business park. My understanding of it, though, is every one of the manufacturing / office businesses that's in there, I think the landlord built all of it and leases out all these beautiful concrete tilt-up structures. So the whole thing was planned at one time. So that's a different kind of development than we're seeing.
Works well, yeah, for different targeted situations. Just one more example, the city of Whitewater had a Whitewater University Technology zoning district. It's sort of adjacent. It was like a industrial area, but intended to foster innovative businesses. And so the land uses were a little bit more customized, and then they had some higher tech appropriate design standards and things like that. They ended up reducing those standards because over time they found that they were too onerous. But just one more example. Did you cover legacy signs yet or parking?
Nope.
Okay,
I'll take parking here.
okay.
I have parking on here. We have parking on here on the agenda, partly because there is a strong need to help redevelop downtown, and that's to create, there is financing through WEDA. They have a very low interest loan fund that can help residential properties on second and third levels. And we have development opportunities, developers in downtown that are looking to utilize that. But there's 3 requirements that need to happen: an updated housing chapter of the comprehensive plan, a citywide reduction in housing costs, so something like parking reductions would qualify for that, and then a specific project-related cost reduction. So, and that application period is going to be likely to be in October and November before we're probably adopting this. And so we really want to encourage and help this developer get their capital stack. So one of the ways we can do this, probably easiest way, is to kind of update the parking table in our current code with kind of the draft we have now, and have that public hearing in August and adopt it ahead of the rest of the zoning update. That way, when the developer applies for zoning, they'll meet this qualification with WEDA. So again, this is what I'm proposing here, is that we update the parking table and have that public hearing in August. And the main reason of doing this ahead of the update is to help with downtown redevelopment.
Okay, sorry, we've secretly moved on to number 6.
Oops, sorry,
All right,
So
my apologies.
that's all right.
from a parking perspective, though, what are you asking of this body? Just to say, go ahead and move forward with it and?
Well, this is kind of more like a future agenda item. If, if you guys want to hold a public hearing at the August meeting, I would need to know that tonight so that I can put forth the proper notifications, public hearing notices.
So these highlights here are just reference changes. Do these did the tables reflect some of the items that we talked about in April?
Yeah, so this
March?
table that
Yeah,
Mike has
okay.
on the screen now, that's the quantity
Yeah.
table, and that's exactly what we discussed.
Yeah, okay.
So that's really the
there's
meat of it.
connection I was
Yeah.
trying
And
to
so
make,
that-
okay.
What we would propose to change in the existing code is the current table of required spaces with this version.
Okay.
And then we adopt that, and that would meet the requirement for this housing, downtown housing financing. But because that financing happens in the application periods in the fall and in the spring, and the timing is really critical for this project,
Okay.
that it does go back further.
I'm in support of it.
So do we need to make some kind of motion for this? Or do you just want us to say, yeah, set up a public meeting and we'll?
I guess you can,
Deal with this in
if so, I think a motion would be nice to have a public hearing on the parking for the August meeting.
Okay, I can make a motion to set up a public meeting in regarding to the parking zoning requirements for August. And I don't know if I said that right, though.
Public hearing, not public meeting?
Public hearing. Okay, so I want to make a motion during the August meeting, to set up a public hearing to discuss parking zoning requirements. Does that work?
Yes.
I'll
Okay.
second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great, let's have it. All right, moving on to number 7. Consider the role of legacy signs as a section of the draft sign code.
This is something that we've talked about, right? Mm-hmm. And
Yep.
you're just putting it on paper?
Exactly. So this, we have reviewed the entire sign code that is more or less checked off in terms of this process, but there was one issue. People were interested in hearing more about community character signs or legacy signs, so this was our attempt at addressing that and presenting the specific issue for your feedback. This section of language is proposed to go into the sign code under abandoned signs, basically. So if you have a sign that still exists but the business ceases to operate, then technically that abandoned sign is supposed to be removed. There are actually quite a few of these around the downtown. And at the same time, Reed versus Gilbert and other sort of general framework rules around zoning, rules need to be uniform, enforcement needs to be uniform. So if there are characteristics of certain signs that you'd like to maintain, those need to be addressed in a way that's sort of content neutral. And so we have borrowed language from an example of the city of Madison where they're defining the sign by its historic time period and not necessarily, the content of the sign. And I think City of Madison used this, for example, to re-erect the Orpheum sign on State Street. Mineral Point, I think, used a similar example. And that is where this is coming from. So it would say that any sign that can be demonstrated to have existed prior to 1940, and kind of demonstrates that historical relationship, that sign may be maintained, even though the business ceases and it's an abandoned sign. So this is an option.
So I'm not entirely sure that the signs that we'd like to have stick around are actually that old, though, right? I mean, the furniture store one, that's probably 1960-ish. Does anybody know?
Yeah, why is there a date on that?
That's probably when the Orpheum was, probably was
To
created,
catch
and they
those
just used the
older,
Orpheum sign
older
date.
signs. So that could, I think we'd have to,
To me, it seems like they're it seems just time period wise to be more historic, and two, it takes it's a cleaner way of identifying something. It makes it makes it less subjective, because you can go down a version of this that is very gray, very subjective.
I don't disagree, but, I mean, what is the objective of the rule? Right, it's to preserve the legacy. If I built my building in 1986 and it's called Mike Cornman Palace, and I put that on my brick, wouldn't you want that there forever? If it's your building, you built it, historic? It's the legacy, right? Is that what we're trying to
That's the
secure?
intent.
Well, there might be some discussion as to how old something has to be historic.
Right.
But like an example might be if the Century Food Store hadn't been reused and and like the grocery store sign was still sitting there. My understanding is like, what we're looking for here is that once that operation is gone, the sign needs to come down versus something that's been there. Yes, using the furniture store one as an example. So where the cutoff is might be up for discussion, but using the time as a distinction, the date of it, is nice because it doesn't speak to the content of it, and so it keeps you safe.
I would agree with you on that, but if my sign is not an external sign, and it's actually in the architecture of the building, I mean, are you gonna require them to take the bricks out and redo the face?
Are you talking about that niche market downtown, like, something like that?
Something where it's right in the, I don't have the example right in front of me.
Sometimes there are exemptions for like building identifiers or building names, so that, and add a stone that, a date erected,
Right.
for example.
Right, when,
And
when
honestly-
downtown Middleton was created, they have signs, whatever it was, 2000 and whatever.
I know that there's some older buildings where it might be right into the stone, like I'm thinking of, there's a very old bank right on James Street where I think it has an identifier right in it. But, I mean, I can't think of any modern business where that level of signage is put in. Normally signage today, you call a sign company and something is screwed onto the building.
Oh,
or-
no, I think new building construction is much different than it was, but like she said, it may not be 1940,
Right.
but you can walk down whatever street this is.
Yeah, it might be
I think-
1950 or it might be 1960 where our cutoff
Right.
should be, because the, kind of the heyday of neon signs, some of the stuff downtown might have been a little further than that, like the old Capri Supper Club sign.
Now, that would, I would, you know,
Yeah, I would have
that would,
liked to seen that one
that's
stay.
external to the building, it's identifying the business.
So I think this is great, my only thing is the whole date. Having a date designator is maybe, I don't know about. And then my other question is, should this be restricted to the downtown Columbus? I mean, is there any old signs that we'd want to maintain any other place in Columbus? I mean, I guess the Kurth Brewery, but they're still operating, and then the Kurth Mansion has a sign, but I can't think of any other signs that I think that are considered historic and we'd want to keep.
Is there two classifications though, historic and,
No, we only have one, right? We only have one classification for signs, essentially, right?
Yep, it's
And-
based on zoning district.
Yep, okay. And this says both the existing and proposed ordinances say you have to remove a sign when that use has no longer been maintained. And that's consistent with a lot of zoning regulathering, right?
Pretty
Once a
standard.
use ceases,
Yep.
then you sort of lose all your grandfathering, so to speak, right? Okay, so this is really a when do you lose your right to be governed under a certain zoning when you have ceased to have that use. Boy, okay. So right now, somebody's, like, under current rule, you have to take the sign down when you stop using. What use is an abandoned commercial?
Jeweler's store?
No, but I mean, like, if I have a commercial business that goes out of business, is it nothing?
What do you?
Like, is the land use nothing? No land use? What?
Abandoned sign is like when the business goes away.
No, I mean in general. Like, if I have an abandoned house, does it cease to be residential?
No, it's still residential.
Okay,
It's
so
just
if I
no
have an
one's-
abandoned
no.
commercial business, it doesn't cease to be commercial.
Correct. But the business, when the business goes away and you have the.
What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to tie
When
that.
when I was in River Falls, we had Lutheran Brotherhood sign up,
Mm-hmm.
and there was not a Lutheran Brotherhood business in the city. So that was advertising a business that was abandoned that space. So think about it more, not from a land use perspective, but a business perspective.
I get that, but I'm trying to think of it from a land use perspective because that's so fundamental to sort of continued rights in so many other parts of zoning law. Maybe I'm going down a rabbit hole. But.
I mean, I think what we have here is we've got to put up a sign, you need a sign permit. And so you've authorized a business to have a sign. And what you're saying is, with the original intent of what's going on here, is that when that business is gone now, that sign is no longer allowed to be there, that sign needs to come down. And then I think the discussion kind of followed down the rabbit hole of, but wait, there's a couple old signs here and there that add to the historic nature, and we want to carve out an exemption for them, which I think this does pretty well. I like this option 3. I could see maybe changing it from 1940 to 1950 or something like that, just to give it a little more leeway. But I think this makes sense to me.
Yeah, I think you have to have a date. I mean, you have to draw the line somewhere. If we don't have a date. we're
Well, the
gonna
date's
figure
how
out-
you're going to differentiate between modern stuff that could just look like blight if it's left there, and very vintage stuff that is just kind of cool. And yeah, there might be a few people that were looking for furniture that were disappointed, but it looks cool.
Yeah.
You never know when Johnny Depp's gonna come to town again and we can do another movie.
But there can always be a variance, right?
You'd have to show a hardship.
Well, I think we're trying to not do variances.
Move on.
Yeah.
All right, was there a decision or a
Nope.
direction you
I think
needed
I've
from
gotten
us? Just
the
something to talk
feedback
about?
necessary. so-
Exciting, okay.
If those signs are deemed legacy signs, like the furniture sign, and I buy that building and I want it gone, I can still take it down, right?
Correct.
There's no, okay.
So we'll go over some more specific language, Sonia, David, and I, on, because I think there's some thought processes on executing this, how you execute it, that is important. So.
All right, we've reached the end of our agenda, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Have a motion
I'll make a second.
and a second. All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed? We're adjourned.